Thank you so much for joining us today. We are Hip Hop Stands With Survivors. We are a loose collective. We heard these victims speak out about the crimes committed against them. We will say allegedly, however, we don't have to, because enough people have come forward to let us know what happened to them by Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation. The story broke almost 7 years to this day. March 29, 2016, Troy Star Terrain started interviewing these guys who were in the Zulu Nation. And they started talking about what happened to them. And we, the general public, heard that. And we're not going to ignore that. And we're not going to let them try to erase that because it's hip hop's 50th year. We will make this year the year of the predator, because hip hop did not stand up for women or for children. We cannot have a community like this. We cannot trust each other like this. We can, as a human family, come back together, but not when we try to erase and whitewash what happened to our children. These are our men. These are our women. They are damaged goods. They are in our community. They are not being taken care of. They are not being heard. That hurt affects all of us. It affects their children and generations coming after them. Rocky Buchanan must resign from the Universal Hip Hop Museum. We believe that museum is a Zulu Nation operation. When Marcy Hamilton comes up here, she's going to talk about enablers. Just like in Epstein's case, R. Kelly's case, the allegations against Bambaataa span from the 1970s to the 1980s to the 1990s into the 2000s. And we don't care about a museum. We're not trying to destroy the museum, but your hip hop history is not better than any of their history. You owe the people. We are the people who bought your music. We supported you. You know why the Me Too movement was successful? Because it happened to white actresses. Other white people lent their voices. Other white celebrities lent their voices. The white journalists of the New York Times lent their resources and exposed it. Our celebrities went silent because of the politics of hip hop. They went silent. They did not lend their voices. We can name less than 10 people who spoke on their behalf. And that our victims don't get the New York Times. They got Troy Star Terrain. They got me. They got Dave Wedge. They got Michael O'Keefe. And still, justice has not been served. When the Black Panther Party started in 1966, it was for police brutality. They were called the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Our communities, black and brown, do not call the police. They don't call the police. And with an organization as powerful as the Zulu Nation and Afrika Bambaataa, they would have been dead if they called the police. Our hip-hop celebrities are now saying, he hasn't been brought up on charges. He hasn't been found guilty. Like they didn't come from where we come from. That was not an option. We're trying to change that today. It is our hope that the FBI is investigating the Universal Zulu Nation and Afrika Bambaataa. There is an open civil lawsuit filed on August 9th, 2021 by an anonymous man, John M.G.G.W. The Zulu Nation is a defendant in that case. The museum has Bambaata's inner circle in that museum, throwing events, doing the security. They have Zulu Nation banners all over the place while they're busing kids in there. We do not believe our children are safe in that museum. We believe they are signaling, whether they know it or not, pedophiles. If you go to another country and you see the cross, you may not even speak their language. You see the Star of David. You see the Star and Crescent. You say, there are my brethren. That's my place of worship. When they see the Zulu Nation sign, the pedophiles are saying, that's my brethren. They are bringing kids in there. We want Mayor Eric Adams. We want Chuck Schumer. We want the New York legislators to hear us. You have a big problem because we're not going to stop. We're not going to go away. You either get rid of Rocky Buchanan or stop our tax dollars from going to this museum. We heard, those are our people. We heard the survivors and we believe them. And we want something done about it yesterday. We reached out to this museum for 5 months. They ignored us. They sent us a response from a woman who's not even on the board. She's not even a voting member. Their board is all men, 5 men. No women, no younger people. It's not intergenerational. None of the survivors, none of the younger Zulus whose lives were wrecked by this whole thing. We want something done, and we want Rocky out of there. Rocky needs to resign. Rocky, you cannot be trusted with public money. We don't trust you. We don't trust you. And we don't trust Bambaata's inner circle up there. And guess what else? Rocky snuck Bambaata in that museum. He signed a piece of artwork that's on the wall in there. So we know what we're talking about. There are people in the museum who feel like we do, but they are powerless to say anything, or are they? I don't know. They brought Bambaata in there, and they're busing kids in there. These people are taxpayers and parents, and we're not having it. We want Rocky out of there. This problem with the Zulu Nation is indicative of a bigger problem in hip-hop. They stood with Russell Simmons after Drew Dixon and other women brought him up on charges. We heard you, Drew Dixon, and all the other women. Charlemagne the God is trying to squash Jessica Reed, who came forward with her story. We heard Jessica, and we believe Jessica. X-Clan, Patrice Griffin is suing X-Clan because of what happened to her. And we believe Patrice Griffin. Crazy Legs. Female dancers outed Crazy Legs for his allegations. And we believe those dancers. These corporations and politicians that sponsor hip-hop, it's as the days of minstrel shows. We don't care what goes on in your little slave shacks. We don't care about crimes perpetrated there. Just get out there and dance. Get out there and perform. Get out there and make us money. But we do care, and our votes matter, our tax paying matters, and our people matter. Stop promoting pedophiles.
This is a historic day in New York City and actually the United States. Child USA works on the civil rights for children, and that means ending child sex abuse for all children. This is the first gathering that I know of black men standing up and saying no more. Despite the difficulties, despite the criticism they get, they are standing up for all children. And we thank them for that. You know, children were property at one time, but now they're persons who deserve rights and protection. I am so honored to stand here with each and every one of these survivors fighting an institution that is funded by government money in a way it shouldn't be. Leila Wills has pioneered this movement for the victims of Africa Bambaataa. I give her a lot of credit, and I'm really happy to partner with her. So what can we do to improve the world for these victims? We have to do this. We have to change the statutes of limitations in the state of New York and around the country. The statute of limitations for child sex abuse keep people from telling their truth safely. Right now, New York State has a bill that would permanently open the courthouse doors for every one of these survivors. Every one of Bambaataa's survivors. The door would open. That's when the world will find out the truth. That's when we'll shift the cost of the horrors of abuse from the victim to the ones who actually caused it. And that's when we'll know about even more hidden predators. Because when you get the voices started, others from other spheres come forward. And that's what we're fighting for. We want every child sex abuse survivor to feel empowered to come forward. In our studies of statute of limitation reform around the United States, what we found is that people of color are vastly underrepresented among the victims that come forward during the laws that open the courthouse doors. That needs to stop. There's no chance that there's less abuse in any community. There have just been fewer victims that have been able to come forward. And the tragedy is that typically the victims feel threatened. And this is a group of survivors that have been severely threatened and that are standing up despite it. The culture has got to change for the children. So let me just close by saying what we need here is unity of survivors. We need to make the point that all children deserve protection. So Senator Schumer, Mayor, City Council, all the powers in New York State need to stop funding this museum and start doing what's needed for these survivors and all the other ones that stand with them. Thank you.
Talk about opposition.
So two other things. One, how do perpetrators get so many victims? On average, the FBI says about 150 victims over the course of a lifetime. How do they do that? The powerful protect them. The powerful enable the perpetrators. So that's one thing. But
Opposition.
So the opposition to statute of limitations for these survivors and every survivor in the state comes from the Catholic bishops and from the insurance industry. They don't care about the victims. They don't want them coming forward. Because if they come forward, what happens is the truth comes out. And it turns out that the powerful were more interested in their image and their power than they were ever interested in children. Children are just collateral damage in these systems, and that was true here as well. So it's time to stop the enablers, but most important, it's time to empower every person standing here right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. Thank you, Hip Hop Standing with Survivors. You know, I want to thank everybody for coming because 5 years ago, we stood before SOB's, the nightclub, who had the nerve to book Africa Bambaataa after these allegations came out. We stood before SOB's and we demanded for them not to book Africa Bambaataa in the future. They did so, they canceled him, and we are proud of them for them doing the right thing. But what's happened since then? More people have come out. up to 15 men, and others have come out and stated that Africa Bambaataa either touched me or he attempted to touch me, and I was a minor. I know a lot of these kids and a lot of these men were not altar boys. They engage in criminal behavior. They engage in gang mentality. So the society doesn't care about them. But we care about them.
Right.
We're going to stand for them.
Right.
Okay, because it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes an army to protect one. And you're that army. We're that army. We're going to stand against this injustice. Many times, blacks and Latino men get raped, get molested as little boys, and their culture tells them not to go to the police. Their culture tells them not to tell anybody. Be tough, suck it up. That's it to stop. Because I've been a pastor for 12 years, and I have seen firsthand the negative effects when people are grown folks crying in front of me that they're still dealing with this trauma. So I've seen the effects. Okay, it has also affected my family. Okay, and we need to stand up. We have to snitch. We have to say something. Okay, many celebrities, they are not here right now. Stand up and said, well, we heard things, but there has been no charges, official charges. Okay, but guess what? That culture teaches these young men not to go to the police, not to talk to their parents, to suck it up. Okay, that needs to stop. So we're here to continue fighting this good fight. You guys are doing the right thing. You know, as a young man, growing up in the Bronx in the 80s, I was proud that hip hop started in my community. I was living within walking distance within Bronx River projects. And out of hip hop, many pioneers came out of this. Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, and Africa Bambaataa. But only one problem. Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation has been a pedophile ring, grooming organization since day one. And no one talked about it. Everybody heard some things. Everybody, heard rumors, but no one went to the police. And it's time for the laws to be changed. We have to change these laws. In New York City, a child has until the age of 18, until 5 years after the age of 18 to go to the police. That's what 23 years old? Many people in science has taught us that sometimes you need 40, sometimes even longer years separated from the actual crime to have the actual courage to talk about it. We have to change these laws. We have to talk to elected officials. We have to make some noises. Okay? People mind their business. Like I mentioned, many celebrities went out, and say, listen, we heard things, but I mind my business. We are not going to mind our business.
Right.
We're going to shout. We're going to talk. We're going to scream. We're going to be out here every single time. Okay? And you got my word, Layla, that I'll be out here anytime you need me. Because this is a good fight, folks. You want to stand for something, stand for this. Stand for the kids. Get rid of the term limits, period. And I yield.
Thank you, Brother Clark.
Today I'm going to talk as a father. Because I have a grown son, beautiful, grown into a beautiful man. And I want to talk about what the impact would have been on me had he told me that a celebrity that he idolized and worshipped had touched him in a sexual way. Now I want all of you here who have children, or if you don't have children, who love children, what would be your reaction if your child or your niece or your nephew stepped to you and told you that a celebrity that they worshipped and idolized touched them in an inappropriate way? What would be your first reaction? It would be rage, wouldn't it?
Yes.
It would be rage, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And I'm very, very clear on this, and people say and some of you who know me, I don't hold my tongue. And I can tell you straight out, now look at that camera right in the eye, if somebody put a hand on my child, it wouldn't be too much of an issue too long. Because I'm not going to wait for I'll tell you straight out, I wouldn't even wait for the law to deal with that. I'm not interested. There's a law, and then there's the law. Harambe Code. So, fast forward. So we have this hip-hop culture that we built. Black and brown kids in the Bronx. I'm part of the first gen. The old school, old school. And we built this on codes of the street. We built this on fun. It was teenagers that built hip-hop. But I can tell you this much, that back in the day when this first started, there is no way that we would have tolerated child molesters in our midst. No way. Period. Point blank, full stop. So now you have an organization that I believe to be righteous and true, and an individual whom I believe to be righteous and true. And then, even before Sister Layla and Star and a number of people spoke about this, I found out about this in 2014 from a friend who actually lived in the building where he lived, in shock, because I had a special event that one of the Zulu Nation people had participated in. And I learned the hard way, over time, that this organization was not what it pretended to be. But yet and still, the people within the organization upheld the infrastructure, knowing fully well that the people in the center were molesting children. And one of them, on the telephone, actually told me, well, it wasn't like babies. It was like, 10, 12-year-olds. And this is what we protect? This no snitch nonsense must end. We have to draw a line somewhere and say that does not count. Child molestation, our children being murdered, it has to end now. And it has to end with cutting the tax dollars for a space, unless this individual, Rocky Bricano, and all of the other people within his midst are excised from that space so it can be fumigated, and someone else who is worthy of the spot, worthy of the protection of our culture that we built on the street, someone else can be put in that place and run that so that future generations can know not only that was this culture that was built on the streets of New York, but guess what our culture does? We self-police. Yes. Yes. We fix what's wrong. Right. We're not going to stand by. And this is why I'm happy to see that everybody came out today to support these children who were molested, who probably didn't have fathers in their home to step for them. Because I know that anything that would happen to my son, the first person that would hear about it would be me. And then the second person would be me standing over the grave of the person that did it. Straight out. This is New York, y'all. I ain't gonna pull no damn punches. You feel me? Yeah. And I think that it's time for all of us within our communities, respectively, to stand against molestation of children. Stand against, protect your children. You want to talk all of that stuff. You want to talk all of this peace. Peace, black man. Peace, sister, my queen, my king. But when you find out that a child is molested, you stay silent? I don't think so. The hypocrisy stinks. And if we're going to have a culture that reflects our traditions, not only in New York, but our African traditions, our Taino traditions, our indigenous traditions, then we have to be reflective. We have to be respectful of that, and we have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. It's not about just wearing ankhs and braids and bracelets and all of that. It's about what you do that counts. So I'm just hoping today that it's going to start and spark a movement, that we are now going to stand against child molestation, and anyone that we find out that molests a child, that we're going to stand and protect them. And anybody out there, and anybody who knows a child that's been molested, to let them see us out here today as an example of what we will do at any time that we learn about a child molestation. Don't hide in fear. Don't hide this information, because there will be men and women who will stand up and stand for you.
That's right. Yes.
Peace.
Ashe. Me fait de fond, Odolamari me fait de fond, Odudua me fait de fond at Goon. I want to thank the survivors that have spoken out, and John Doe, who took legal action,
I want to thank all of you that have supported and taken a stand in this cause. I want to thank Layla Wills for spearheading this protest, creating the documentary Trapped in the Culture, and all the work she has done. I know what this has cost her. I've seen the abuse coming at her, and it's not been easy for her. As an ex-member from the age of 14 to 37, and a former national spokesman for the UZN, I have not, from the time I found out to today, to any day afterwards, I'm not going to stay quiet like a lot of you punks. Because that's what you are, you're punks. Because this block should be flooded with people. The people walking, how many people here know somebody that was molested? What kind of culture is hip-hop? Culture has morals and ethics. Where is the people? Where are you at? But you're quick to want to be out when some rapper gets shot, when some rapper's going to get locked up, when there's some beef between some rappers, but you're not here. Shame on you, and may Eligua block your paths. May Eligua flip your life upside down. To the ones who did it, to the ones who enabled, may Fedeful Eligua, may it end for you. ASAP. This sweeping things beneath the rug mentality has to stop. It goes on too much. Too much it goes on. I won't say nothing. But you big and bad, and you want to run a block that you don't own. That you don't own the taxes on. But when the cops come, you're going like cockroaches. But you have no cojones. You have no heart to stand here with the people who were molested. I only fear Odolamare, the creator. If you have no iwepele, if you have no good character, then what do you have? You can have all the money, all the women, all the cars, all the houses, but you have no character. And character goes a long way. And nobody's saying for this museum not to exist. And I don't call him Africa Bambaataa. He does not deserve the name Africa Bambaataa. His name is Lance Taylor, and that is who I will mention to him as. He is not that man of history. And we're not saying for Lance Taylor not to be mentioned in the museum or any of his memorabilia to be exhibited in the museum. What we're saying here is that his alleged enablers must be removed from the museum. The historical facts of the abomination that occurred to the youth must be included in the museum. Because now it's a part of hip-hop history. And anything else that was a false narrative of him that was propagated as hip-hop history must be eradicated, must be properly taught in that museum. Because he was not a black spade. He was a baby spade. And Zulu did not start at 73, 76. So let's have the historical facts. Let's not pick and choose to make somebody look good, to make something look good. It has to be what it is. In closing, there are people that have to go, that hold titles and positions regarding the museum, as well as victimizers and enablers. And most importantly, this is about protecting the youth. This is what we're saying. Because what's so funny is if anybody's child was molested, oh, I'll kill him. I'll do this. I'll do that. But where is the empathy? Where is the sympathy? Where is the principle, the morals, and the ethics? Where is the good character? What happened to the other youth? Well, because it didn't happen to your child, we're going to be quiet. Because I can't say nothing. You're a coward. You are a coward and you're disgusting. Anybody who's supporting pedophilia, I could break bread with a murderer. But I can't break bread with a rapist and a pedophile. That's a whole nother level of something that is morally wrong. So with that I say, Ashe.
Peace, blessings, and light. Greetings. I need to thank this sister here, this warrior goddess, for bringing this and bringing that heat here. All the way from Chi-Town. The Africa Bambaataa documentary. Okay. I get a little emotional, so much. As a survivor, as a girl being molested by babysitters, because my mother suffered and battled with mental illness. She had a couple of stints in Creemore, and I wasn't always protected as a child. My name is Tamara. I'm AKA Shorty T, the Queen Empress. I'm a hip-hop pioneer. I'm part of the first generation. I started in the parks in Queens in 1976. I'm a bereaved mother. I lost my daughter Alexia November 23rd, 2017 on Thanksgiving and my birthday. I'm also a bereaved godmother to Amori Shakur Morrison, who was murdered in Queens 6 weeks later after the death of my daughter Alexia. But most importantly, I am a survivor of sexual assaults and predatoria. Hip hop was the only thing that we had, and I had, growing up. I'm talking about the preteens. Because see, they not giving our history. They not telling the history right. You know, hip hop is 5 boroughs. Yes, the Bronx started certain techniques, certain venues, absolutely. But hip hop is New York City and beyond. At the age of, let me take it back, because this is not my speech. I was so nervous I forgot it.
You're our last one, so we're not going to.
Okay, good. All right. So, I need to say, eventually I had to leave my mother's home. And at the age of 13, I left my mother's home. I was MCing, rapping, had a name all over the place. And every child that is molested does not become promiscuous. Sometimes we become withdrawn. And I remember being put in a place called Queens Society Prevention of Cruelty from Children. To children. In Queens on Union Hall Street. And this particular story is very important, because that's how I was able to go to a lot of the outer boroughs, because we had the girls' dorms and the boys' dorms upstairs. But what I want to say about the boys there, little did I know, sometimes I would see them walk up through a path, right, with McDonald's or something. But if you read in somebody's aura, you could tell something was off. Those boys were being molested and raped by one of the male staff members at that facility. And it was a counselor that I would learn years later, bumping into him, that would tell me that he had to report it. Where are our stand-up people to protect children? I'll never forget him. You know, because I'm like, damn. So as time went on, I figured, you know, got a name, hook up with a big group in Queens, well known. I'm going to get on. We're going to do a record deal, such and such. And at the age of 15, one tried to penetrate me. And I was a virgin. Okay? And as time went on, your self-esteem, you walk around like you got a mark on your forehead that says you're a target. So, 3 weeks before my 17th birthday, I was sexually assaulted in Queens. And it changed my life. And where I was staying at a foster home that I thought was safe, in actuality, it was not safe. There was a long history of incest within that family. And nobody did nothing about it. I stand here, I may have been shattered and broken by so many different things. But not only am I here for myself, I'm here for the other survivors too. Yeah, I've had record deals. I know how the shiesty business is. About the Hip Hop Museum, when I got word that it existed. So as I was saying, being a fighter, the woman that I am, when one of my daughters died, the one that died on my birthday, ironically, she left 2 special need grandchildren. She died in front of her kids in her apartment. And the powers that be swept it underneath the rug. And I had to fight for my grandkids. And their father had been recently released from prison. And Children's Services was going to give my 2 grandchildren to him, who's a registered sex offender. And I fought like hell. The city of New York, I lost my job with the city. I have a pending multi-million-dollar notice of claim at the controller's office and getting ready to file. Because in controversy, my timeline conflicts with someone else's, that don't matter to me. I didn't care whether or not I had an apartment or a house. My thing is to keep my grandchildren safe. The issues that I have about that hip hop museum, see, I was there when they had the education, the input day in Dumbo. And I gave my input about the mental health issues, the social wrongs, the protection of children. Rocky met me, took pictures and everything. And now you have this museum. And it's a conflict of interest across the board. Mayor Adams, you had them disco twins up there at the Black Caucus. Their hands are not clean either. Okay? They're not clean. That Universal Hip Hop Museum, where's the checks and balance, the transparency? Where's the request for proposal? How the Zulus are there promoting security when you don't have an open bidding? See, I used to work for the city of New York, and they taught me very well. And also, my professor, John Steele, right, that the former assistant to Gregory Meeks, was one of my professors that taught me about public administration and public policy. And yeah, with all my grief, this sister here helped me heal on another level. I've been in therapy for decades, and I won't compromise and I won't stop until the statute of limitations is up. Rocky Buchanan, you got to go. Yes, we want a museum, but we want the entire history. We want the history before Africa Bambaataa. Disco King Mario taught all of y'all from Edenton, North Carolina. Let's talk about the preteens. They are the real pioneers. I took a lot of hits for the team. And at that, I'm grateful. Yes, a lot of people should be out here outraged. It's about saving our children. As it stands, my 2 grandbabies that I have guardianship over and my youngest granddaughter, Storm, shall not set foot in that museum. And they can't get a dime. They can't get another dime from me. And I will not be donating any flyers, anything that I've digitized. Game on.
What people need to understand that if you do a little research on any form of law enforcement summary in regards to pedophilia, pedophiles will go to school, they will get training, they will take and do all the credentials is necessary to get around kids. So it's not far-fetched for a pedophile like Africa Bambaataa, and I'm calling him a pedophile, I'm not saying allegedly. There's too much evidence now. It's not far-fetched to think that an organization like the Universal Zulu Nation, okay, is out there saying, you know what, we should have a museum with kids and have them come over and after school program. That's exactly what pedophiles do. They surround themselves with children. So any good thing that the Zulu Nation has done, or Africa Bambaataa, is to lure new kids into their web. So we have to get educated in how the pedophile mind works. They don't stop and they will go at all ends to get around kids, earn their trust, and violate them. And we have to protect our children, our black and brown children, our white children, our Asian children. All children have to be protected because this goes across the board. Okay?
If they don't answer our demands, if they don't get Rocky out of there and those Zulus out of there, we will shut it down. Right. We weren't gonna shut it down. We will shut it down. Yep. Shut it down. Yep. We will shut it down, Mr. Mayor. Right. Chuck Schumer, do your homework. It's not a good deed to just throw money at a problem or at black people in the Bronx. You better do your research. And I sent it. I sent that report. Everybody knew what Bambaataa was doing. And they helped him do it. And they didn't protect these kids.
So we have to be vigilant. We have to continue fighting. We have to be noisy. We have to be not mind our business. So when you go home today, okay, take it upon yourself to do research how the pedophile mind works, and more importantly, ask questions in your schools and in your institution that you have children. Tell them and ask them, what are you doing to protect children from pedophiles? Ask those questions. And what are the measures in this school? What is the measure of this after-school program? What are you doing to protect our children? We have to take it upon themselves because there's certain things that we could do in the private sector. Okay, put cameras, have witnesses, never having a door sitting down with a child by themselves with a closed door. We could do it ourselves. We could put some policies at hand to stop future pedophiles from hurting our children. And I yield.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace. Peace.
Peace. I'm taking any picture.
Yes, we're done.
You got your sign?